Hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to get into the first of four videos. This one is going to be on the Georgia election interference of 2020, and we're going to talk about the 2025 conversations that are so fascinating. Well, I also have lined up, and I'm looking over the side screen here, on Minnesota, the fraud issues that are related, and then there's going to be Pennsylvania and Arizona. So I'm pointing over the right side of the screen here. Um, and they're going to be on fraud issues and the election issues. So, and I want to also start off too. I've got a book here. This is my first hardcover book. I am so close, and you kind of see this is the not for sale version here. We're just finishing up this. We got a couple errors on the screen here, so we got to fix the errors. When you do a book and you do it, I do it through Amazon, and there's always little errors on the thing, and you've always got to fix the errors. It's annoying because you put it up there, and so there are tiny little errors you got to always fix. So it's called Tribulation. It'll be available at drscottyoung.com. So it's going to be out there. We're going to have it soon. And I mean, this has been a harrowing process because I've never done a hard book before. Just getting all the spacing kind of right on it. It's going to be a full color book. Just to give you an idea, it has color pictures all the way through and through here, with charts and all kinds of fun things in there too. So it's all on the tribulation. It is information you've never heard of before with it too. Okay, so let's do this video, and we're going to talk about I'm going to do some fun little things in there. There's some stuff in here I guarantee you haven't seen before. We're going to do a funny little part. Some of this stuff is from 2020, and I will identify the parts that are from 2020 and from 2025 here. This is funny, that Joe went off script in 2020 with that too.
America.
Sorry.
Back in America. We resolve our difference at the battle box. That's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets.
We resolve our differences at the battle box. I mean, he's so off script, he's so stupid. You kind of ask yourself, and that was the idiot that they were voting for in 2020. Now, they were talking about this, obviously, this is like a 2022 kind of thing, and you're like, you got to be kidding me, your idiocy. So, that was the kind of stuff. And now, obviously, maybe 2022, 2024, but that's the lunacy of the left, and they don't even know who they're looking at and who they're talking about here. Okay. Now, one of the things, and just to kind of give you a background here, and this is some of the things. Now, I have a friend of mine who knows quite a bit. I've a couple of people actually telling me quite a bit of information with that too. So Trump was indicted for pressuring Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, I can never say his name very well, to investigate the election integrity in his state. 5 years later, Georgia admits they illegally certified 315,000 ballots in the 2020 election in Georgia, handling Biden's win by 11,000 votes. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Who was affected by that? We got Fani Willis, who was the AG in the Atlanta area, in the Fulton County point. Who got affected in that particular area? Well, number one, you have Raffensperger, who, by the way, a real interesting point about Raffensperger, he had said, who was a very staunch, very staunch Republican, who was a guy who had said he got into politics. He had a business that was working with his son, and he really didn't want to be in politics after being the Secretary of State, and he wanted to get out of politics afterward. Now, very interesting. that he sold his business after 2020, this 2020 nightmare that you're going to see. He sells his business and he completely gets out of it. He had a son, supposedly. And now he's full bore, pedal to the metal to become Georgia governor. Now, Brian Kemp is the idiot governor who did some of his own election interference as well. And so these are idiots that think that they can move forward with election stuff, and they're supposed Republicans, but they're Democrats in their own way. They're rhinos and fakos who are going to be part of election. It's actually EO 13848 that is all talking about, and you look up EO Executive Order 13848. And then it also talks about crimes against humanity, which when you talk about crimes against humanity, 13818 says that when you do things against crimes against humanity, you lose all of your money. These people, Brad Raffensperger and Brian Kemp, they are going to lose it all. So this is super fun. Now, here's one of the things that Raffensperger actually says. 5 years after the election, so this is very, very recently, challenges in the Georgia election continue despite multiple audits. And blah, 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 blah. He says tabulation tapes were not signed that included 350,000 votes. Wait a second. If that's the case, you remember when Trump has a big picture that all of the people talk about how Trump was indicted for 34 different felonies. Now, part of those felonies were in New York, to get it right, but some of those felonies actually come in Atlanta. Okay. And the picture that Trump actually has in the White House comes from the Atlanta courthouse. So some of the people that turned on, actually one of his lawyers that turns on him, comes from the Atlanta courthouse. And so Secretary of State Raffensperger actually says Georgia has the most secure election. This is why I wanted to talk about this. And people have actually talked to him about this. Has the most secure elections in the country, and all voters were verified with photo ID and lawfully casted their ballots. A clerical error at the end of the day does not erase a valid legal votes. If only Georgia had an official responsible for preventing clerical errors that undermine the election integrity. Is there anyone in Georgia who has lost their job, Brad? And he said, he's tired of empty words from weak leaders. And then there's a conversation about from Rep. Mike Collins. President Trump is owed a massive apology. It turns out 300,000 early votes were illegally certified and still included in the final count. If 300,000 votes were counted, Trump won Atlanta. Let's show you a couple interesting other things. These are some of the shenanigans. This was some of the ones that we saw in 2020.
Hi. Hey, so you with the elections? You're the Bureau of Elections, right?
Well, I'm just a volunteer.
We're just wondering okay, I understand you're a volunteer and you're just doing your job. What's all these? Are these mail-in ballots or what's these coming in?
So she is downstairs in a break room. And this is why a pollster's down there trying to bug her. Well, like, what the heck are you doing down here?
Are these?
Uh-huh.
These are my in tape here?
What's that?
Am I in tape as well?
Yeah, because we're wondering why are ballots being handled down here and not up there with the elections. So we're curious about that.
Okay, yeah, the gentleman who's in charge of this, I think, should be right back down.
What's his name?
Gosh, what is his name? Do you know his name?
Are you volunteer or employee?
I'm a poll watcher.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I'm a
our
poll.
supervisor will be back here.
So what's
as well.
his name?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just volunteer.
And you're a volunteer? What kind of volunteer are you? With the elections?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just curious. Just curious.
I mean, this is how rigged they wanted to do it. They wanted to put him downstairs, screwing around with everything that's going on. This is the kind of stupid that happens over and over again, right? And then this dropped out only in the last few days. This is when they started to take the Dominion machines. Now, let me back up and I want you to understand some things about the Dominion machines. And most people do not understand this. As an audiologist, you know, that's an expert in hearing, I have to calibrate my machines. Now, my calibration has to be done every single year to my machines. And so if I don't calibrate my machines every single year, and I deal with insurances for hearing evaluations and for hearing aids. The insurances can walk into my office and invalidate every single hearing evaluation. They can request every dollar that I ever received from it. The state can shut me down, can take away my license. They can, all the insurances could sue me instantaneously and wipe me out. And then, I'm done. And so this is the kind of stuff that happens over calibration. Now, Mike Lindell, in all of his gorgeous conversations and over in the Dominion discussions, in the 32 states, which includes Georgia, and we will talk about the same thing in Pennsylvania, that also goes over to Arizona. That's why we're going to talk about those 3 states specifically. Did you know that in 2016, the Dominion machines, the electronic interference, that they have internet capability? I have a friend of mine that was at a Dominion machine capability in 2020. He was talking to me and he said, Scott, I had my iPhone out and I'm recording the thing and somehow I lost it. And I'm like, I can't believe you lost it. He goes, I'm so pissed that I lost it. I'm at the Dominion machine capability, and I will not tell you the state, but it's one of those battle box states. That's what I'm telling you. It's the funniest statement. And he goes, Scott, I'm sitting there, and it's the president of Dominion who's telling you that you can turn off the machines and turn it back on. And he said you can turn it off if you wanted to change the results. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And he was talking about that you can turn it off, plug in a USB, do all. I'm like, what? Yes, that's exactly what you can do. So when I show you this USB, it is corroborated by other people out there. So here's what they're doing in Georgia. This is corroborated by stuff that I've actually learned about a long time ago. So this is this kind of stuff that happens. She takes her USB out of the thing and she pulls it. And this is in Georgia. This is only dropped in the last few frickin' days. She pulls it out of her computer. Now, let me ask you a question. Why is this coming out in 2025? Trump was telling you only recently, in January and in the first quarter, that we're going to hear about this. I'll let it play again. That we were going to hear about the same kind of stuff, and yet, why is it happening? I believe white hats are telling you about evidences that shouldn't happen. They are telling you about stuff. and this is from the Hill or something or other. I mean, this is coming out and someone recorded them, and now it's available for us to see. Only in 2025, and it's going to be coming out harder and harder in 2026. Isn't that fascinating? This is how they stole elections in Georgia. They did it in Pennsylvania too. Let's show you this one. This was back in 2020 or 2021 when they were talking about the Georgia election.
These are tally sheets that were the auditors for the Georgia audit that was conducted on November 14th and 15th in Fulton County. They filled these out as they counted the ballots. 7 of these, and we're going to kind of scroll through and show you these live. There's another one, 100 to nothing. The actual counts of these are like 59-42 in terms of ballot images. Here's one that's 150 to nothing.
Yeah, so basically,
He said 59 to 42. There normally are when they show them in normal circumstances. But what he's saying is that they all show 100 to 0, 100 to 0.
the people that were doing the audit would count the batches and then write in fraudulent numbers because they have the corresponding images for these batches and they do not match these sheets. So whoever was doing them commit fraud. And what I had asked him in the press conference is, are these sheets signed by the person that doing them? And apparently they are, Steve. And not only that, the Secretary of State has the information. These sheets that they got, it's redacted. So they can't determine who was doing this, but we know that whoever did commit fraud. Now I want to switch over to the images of the ballots, right? These ballot images that they obtained through their lawsuit that are the official images from the Dominion machines, 2 different ballots right here, right? This is the ballot number, the batch or the ballot number here, different from here, but as you can see, it's the exact same markings, Steve, on each one. And Garland, tell me, how many of these did you guys find?
Well, there are a total of duplicate reporting of over 4,000.
This spreadsheet behind here has about 40,000 line items, right? That compares the numbers from the original election to the recount. The error rate on that, they said, was 59.5%.
I mean, it's just, you can't have an error rate of 59.4%. That's the one point that comes out there. And frankly, when you have 100 to 0, see, okay, if you and I are going to lie on a test, you'd write in. If you and I are just going to lie, right? If we're going to make up numbers, and we're going to do this, smart people would have written in like 13 for Trump and 78 for, or 77 for Joe Biden, right? I'm just making up numbers, right? To get 100. But see, they're so stupid, so ridiculous. They wrote 0. They didn't write anything for Trump and 100 for Biden. And they did it over and over again. Nothing and 200. Nothing on 150. And they signed their name even though it's redacted. We have the totals. I'll show you another one.
Nothing. Batch 3, Biden 100, Trump nothing. Batch 4, Biden 99, Trump 0. These are statistical impossibilities. Everyone would know that. Another group of batches, Biden 100, Trump 0. Biden 100, Trump 0. Biden 150, Trump 0. Biden 200, Trump 0. Secretary of State has to know that this information was incorrect. It's been there for months, ever since this audit data has been released. It's public data. And I challenge everyone out there, particularly the media, stop telling us there is no evidence of election fraud. You're lying. There is evidence of election fraud, and anyone in the country that says it does not is lying to you. It's time for the people in this country.
You see, every time that they tell you election fraud and they tell you all this kind of stuff, I'm telling you right now, it's treason. They know the truth and they push the lie. It's treason. They have an oath in their statements. They have an oath to defend the Constitution. 14th Amendment under the third section. They have it, over and over again, they have an oath to their states. And they did not do it. The Secretary of State, and Katie Hobbs, by the way, we'll talk about Katie Hobbs over in Arizona as well. But listen, Brad Raffensperger, I'm telling you what, these people, and it didn't just affect Fulton County. It doesn't just affect the people in Atlanta, in Georgia. It affected all people in America. Because if Georgia tips, it has started tipping out people in Arizona. It would have tipped out people in Minnesota. It would have tipped out people in Pennsylvania. It would have tipped all over the country, over and over again. Let me show you even the fascination of the different states. So let me pull off this. I'm going to bring up this one up here. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. These are just election results. I'm going to use CNN as election results. This is when they turned off the Dominion machines. Let me tell you something interesting that I know about pretty deeply. The Dominion machines were actually turned off. The internet capability was turned off. So I was telling you a little bit about the election capabilities, or the internet capabilities in 2016. The internet capability was turned off in 2016. Now, Mike Lindell, who I believe is going to be the governor in Minnesota, is going to turn that state over. Indicated in 2017 that all the Dominion machines have never been certified. So the elections of 2018, 2020, 2022, 2022, and even possibly 2024, but we don't know that for sure. But for sure, 2020, 2018 are all fraudulent elections. All fraudulent elections. Now I'm going to do some research a little bit more on 2024 because I'm wondering a little bit about 2024. But let me show you the state of Georgia, and we will do each state when we come to this, okay? So this is Georgia, and you're just looking at the different area. So Clinton and Trump, you see how, they've got, Raffensperger here. I don't know if Raffensperger was in that state time frame, right? So, it's real close. And see, this is how they do this. This is how they take, these areas like Columbus, Savannah, Georgia, right? And they take, these dense areas so that they can win states, right? But still, Trump won the state by 200,000 votes. In 2020, it goes just barely to idiot Biden. 2024, it jumps right over to 115,000 in this. But yet, even still, they tip the vote to idiot Kamala. I say idiot Kamala because she's ridiculous. But they still are tipping those votes. Look at those areas that they tip the votes. And see, this is why I'm not sure that they've fixed the election fraud issues. They're doing, I think they might have fixed some of the election fraud, but they have voter fraud going on pretty hard in these areas, right? So they're definitely, stuffing the votes. So the 2,000 mules probably is pretty effective in there. But you can kind of see some of the gross things they still do out there. Okay. So pull that off the screen, and we're going to show you a funny We're going to show you just to lighten the mood, just a hair.
They told me I was going to have, but they also keep telling me I'm not supposed to answer any questions. So I'll just read the teleprompter, then go take my nap. Actually, I'd like to take a nap now. Are we done?
Oh, sir, we have questions.
You do? You mean, ones they haven't told me the answers to? Is this a trick?
No, sir.
Are the answers in the teleprompter?
No, sir.
Am I in the Twilight Zone? What's happening here? I'm more confused than usual.
Sir, can you please just answer some of our questions?
It's just when people would talk about Biden, it was just an example of how stupid it is. Why would anyone believe that he was part of it with it too? Okay.
About the weeks running up to the election. I'm very worried about the days and weeks after the election. There will be districts that don't certify the winner of the election because the elected officials don't like the outcome. There will be massive numbers of court cases. I think there will be intimidation in certain areas that'll try to stop certain people from voting. And I think that after the vote is done, there will be huge numbers of people that don't believe that it's true, that believe it's rigged. And that's a dangerous place to be. I'm not talking about a civil war. I'm not talking about the U.S. becoming a dictatorship. But I am talking about a period of profound unrest that people alive in the U.S. right now they're not prepared for, and they're certainly not used to.
This is a left-leaning idiot. This is what they think. This is what they believe. This is what they want, right? And yet, this is just how they think. Okay, just giving you an idea of what they're looking at. Okay, these are some of the newer kind of conversations that are out there. This is why it's coming to a head.
There were several states involved.
And which time period are you referring to?
This was 2020.
Before or after the election?
During the election.
In your examination of any of these Dominion systems, have you seen any indication of non-election personnel remotely accessing a Dominion system?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I too have reviewed a series of emails produced by Dominion in which they're discussing remoting into Gwinnett County, Georgia.
You also mentioned Dominion remotely connecting to election systems, but you don't have any evidence that occurred in Georgia, correct?
There was one county. I've seen a lot of Dominion emails. I've had to translate Dominion emails from Serbian to English to verify the technical questions I was being asked about them, to verify that it was translated properly. So
it's your testimony that there is evidence of Dominion remotely accessing Georgia election equipment?
yes, on the one county. It was included with stuff that I was researching and reading through, considering Colorado. Michigan was also involved, and there were other ones.
To your understanding, is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
Yes.
Can you identify those instances?
One would be the Denver, Colorado server was granted, or requested to grant Belgrade, only Belgrade. I did search. There is a Belgrade, Montana. Again, why would Montana need to connect into a Colorado file transfer server as part of the election system? And there are other components and things that were done in the background concerning the database and the configure of the database server that still do not have an engineering change order. Because if somebody works in an operational environments for a lot of different things, what I will tell you is sometimes things break or you have a problem and you have to fix it. And you submit a change request, or in this case, an engineering change order that's retroactive, right? You want to go back and make sure that you record the process so that you have change management and integrity of the system. If you do not record changes, you lead yourself down a.
I'm almost speechless. I don't even know what to say to that, because it's actually stuff that I've talked about before, but it's freaking unbelievable that when you
A
hear
very bad.
it's unbelievable when you hear it, because it's like, what? And this is a court case that we're now hearing about only today. And it validates everything that Mike Lindell has gone through, and all the things that he's been sued about, all the things that the FBI has taken him to court over, that they tried to take him down, and everything he's ever said has been right. Everything that they have tried to take, they have taken all of us down on many levels, that they pulled videos down off of my areas, everything that they've ever tried to say about us, and all the things that they've ever done. I'm sweating bullets because I'm so pissed, not because I barely speak right now because I'm kind of mad when I go through this. This is the other bits of litigation you're going to kind of see.
Currently, Ms. Williams, do not answer. That is a matter that is currently, I believe, in litigation as well. And Ms. Adams, you well know that as well.
It is not in litigation.
If we are not
asking if we have the ballots from 2020. I'm a board member. Am allowed to ask a question about documents from 2020. Do we have
I believe that is
do we
the
have
case.
the ballots?
As you've been told several times, the ballots are in the possession of the clerk of Superior Court.
So she has physical.
They are physically in the clerk of Superior Court warehouse and secured in that location.
Okay.
They've been there for 5 years.
The ballots and the records.
Correct.
From that
They
election.
are, for the past 5 years, they have been in the clerk of Superior Court possession.
Okay. I
Think about that for a second. They've been in a courthouse waiting for the right time. Is it the right time? Watch this.
Day count and the failure to properly secure, protect, and document the safety and authenticity of the votes from 10 advanced voting locations is appalling. Record keeping is abysmal. Proper documentation to ensure the public that votes or ballot boxes have not been tampered with is shamefully poor. The opportunity to electronically stuff.
Now, I want you to, I just want to pause there for half a second. Tampering with ballot boxes. Pause for a second, sit back in your chair, think about what ballot boxes are talking about. And by the way, the court case on Dominion, what did they talk about? What state? Multiple guess, right? Colorado. Who did Trump just, and I'm just bringing this out of this, who did Trump just pardon? Tina Peters. This is not just a Georgia issue. Ballot boxes, what was the one thing that they tried to put Tina Peters in jail over? Ballot boxes. And she tried to show a ballot box sitting outside and say, this shouldn't be sitting here.
The ballot box was obviously available, and that has left a film of doubt and suspicion over Fulton County that may be impossible to wipe away unless something is done to ensure that there's not a repeat of multiple violations. Ballot images were required to be made and preserved as of February 2020. With the failure to retain 380,000 ballot images from the November 3rd election be indicative of gross negligence? 10 scanners from advanced voting have failed to provide required documentation necessary to confirm that they were used in the elections were safely secured from tampering, or that the votes attributed to the 10 scanners were authentic. Election supervisors must provide documentation and demonstrate correct procedure for maintaining memory card security. The county broke the necessary audit trail to validate the authenticity of the votes. Either the votes should be invalidated or the paper ballots must be investigated to prove their veracity. If this is the way to conduct an election, then no election should be certified as true and accurate. And there's no way that this election or recount should have been certified.
Like, what, I mean, like, almost what else can you say? You're telling me that Georgia didn't know? That Brad Raffensperger didn't know? I was telling you about this, and I wasn't even planning on showing you this. Executive Order 13818, imposing certain sanctions in the events of foreign interference in United States election. And it was back in 2018. And yet Biden and Trump brought this in. Biden kept it going. And here's the key element. In recent years, the proliferation of digital devices, internet-based communication has created significant vulnerabilities, magnified the scope and intensity of the threat of foreign interference, as illustrated in the 2017 Intelligent Community Assessment. I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with this threat. We are still in the national emergency, boys and girls. And we will stay in that national emergency until Trump takes us out of the national emergency. Why are we there? We have not fixed the 2020 election. Guys, stay tuned, because I swear to you, this thing is coming to a head more and more. Guys, I really appreciate you sticking around with me through this one. I mean, it really helps if you will like and subscribe, but I promise you, we are going to talk about Pennsylvania. We're going to talk about the massive fraud in Minnesota. We are going to talk about Arizona. We are going to get to the bottom of these things. And guess what? They all are going to pay. You're going to see them taken down to the core. This is going to be fixed. And I know many of you lost hope. Hope is not what we live upon. We live upon faith. You know what faith is? It's the evidence of things hoped for and the promise of things unseen. And guess what? What does evidence of things unseen look like? Let me give you an example of what's evidence of things unseen. We didn't see this stuff and we didn't think we could see it. Now, evidence of things unseen is when someone takes something that we knew it was there. Evidence of things unseen. Exactly that kind of stuff. We knew it was there. That's what faith is. It's not my little hope. She took it out of that drive, of the tabulator drive that she faked, this little faker, to these little people. That's Ruby, I think. Ruby Freeman, that idiot Biden gave a whole bunch of little things. This is the faith that we needed to have, of showing a USB taken out. And guess what? They're all going down. You know how you fix this? You take those little idiots, you've taken those idiots, the poll workers and all those things, and you sit them down in a room. And you say, guess what? You're going to jail for 15 to 25 years. And I've thought about this. I've talked to different people. If you turn in your friends around you that you've worked with for 20 years, see, they've gotten a lot of money for doing this. Not the huge amount of money, the millions and billions that other people get. But here's what they do. You put them in the circumstance of jail. But you have to turn in everyone out there. And so you do it to every one of them. This is how you do it. And so they start turning in everyone. And now I want you to turn in supervisors. And you go up the tree and the ladder all the way through and through. And then what happens is you get all the way up to the top. That's what we've been doing for quite a long time frame. This was a long and painful process, but I promise you it's coming. Thanks so much.